Part 3, continuing the true facts. Someone might say, well, I've seen a previous video about these true facts. Yes, but now it's becoming critical, in my opinion, that, friends, we have to rise and demand what we really should have. We have to correct this Hooveristic, immoral hypocrisy. J. Edgar Hoover transformed our democracy into a lying grand theft. We're constantly at war to surround Russia and China, dominate as the great aggressive general said, the English-speaking countries will dominate the world, and that's their figure of domination through lies, money. Well, they print the money. It's amazing that people in other countries will get killed or injured, work hard to get the gold and ship it to the U.S. The U.S. sends them the dollars. Well, the dollar is used as the reserve in banks, but we're in debt more than all the other countries in the world combined with our paper money. But it's the combination of the military with the industrial, the military-industrial combine is getting what they want. That isn't what most of the people in the world want. They just want employment and live without war and so on. No, but they get senators and representatives say, well, if Israel is at war, right or wrong, against a country, we're at war against that country also. Wow. You realize how counter what really the truth is. The Palestinians were the indigenous people there, and it's still Palestine, and they had little tribes there. Not that that's all their area and they're going to force them out or practice genocide to get them out. That's the true facts. Naturally, other Arab countries want Palestine to have their country back. I'm not saying that, especially who's in charge, does things in a good way, but any country that they're forced, because of conditions, to do things that are not good, they have to have soldiers against soldiers, not get civilians. But the U.S. has killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in Iraq, and they have these drones. They say, well, that's incidental casualties. There's been somewhere the drones wipe out a civilian village. Not one military person, just hit this little village. They say, well, 30% they admit to. I think it's probably at least 50%. In this village, it was 100% of the killing of civilians. This is where they even used depleted uranium, DU. Now, they knew its horrible effects. They got children born now deformed in Iraq, cancer. Come on, uranium is uranium. It causes cancer and so forth. And well, it's depleted uranium. It isn't the full uranium of a U-bomb. I mean, it's lies. That's the Hooveristic hypocrisy. And in this country, They're eliminating the middle class, which was always the U.S. The rich are getting richer, more powerful, and the poor are getting more and more poor. And they're wiping out your retirement. How clever. They own part-time workers so they don't have to pay benefits, and especially in retirement. We're right or wrong, they say we got to be at war, whatever Israel wants us to be at war. It seems that we are in bed with the Zionists. Zionism, I've said it, and I think in this video, and I'll say it again, Zionism is worse than Nazism. They do the same crimes and even worse as far as genocide. Because they say it's their right. What do you mean they're right? That was the indigenous Palestinians, the same people have been living there all through history. No, they got to get out because it's the land of the Zionists. It's their political who control the country. These are the true facts. So the American people, the world's peoples, are being forced to do something about this embed of Zionism and the USA, this Hoover hypocrisy. We've got to rise and say, look, you committed, as number one example maybe, is the crimes against Doc C, PhD company, his father's family and his family. He did as much or more good in more fields than maybe any man in history of the U.S., yet Hoover took and forcibly took his science and inventions, keep them anonymous, lies, crimes. The people have to say, if you did that to Doc C, who was religious and did some preaching and then became preacher doc, and now that's my main interest and challenge, is the discipline of theology. If you did that to him, you'll do it to anybody. And that's, if you somehow, the great FBI hero, Melvin Purvis, was found shot dead, and Hoover said, oh, he committed suicide. If President Kennedy is assassinated, if Governor Wallace, who then became a liberal, they asked him, what will you do about Hoover? He said, well, I'll replace him. And within 4 days, he was shot. He was the front runner and he's out. You understand? Hoover was an evil fella and has transformed the U.S. democracy into a USA in bed with Zionist hypocrisy. That's the true facts. And now we get, well, the only thing you can do is being forced into military science. And in military science, I learned from a colonel from the West Point who said, if you're an officer and you're putting forth your opinion, and you know it's the best, you put forth that opinion and you stay with it. And therefore, this USA constantly at war and won't sign a peace treaty with North Korea because they want North Korea to be just the way they want it, while at the same time they're giving Israel planes and tanks and money. And the Zionists have about 200 nuclear weapons, nuclear submarines, anything and anything that is offensive. Why? I thought they wanted to live there in just a little country in peace. That was the lie of the Zionists, and they're still lying, still practicing now genocide. And Hooveristic USA is in bed with them, lies and money, and they print the money and military expansion. They should he sign a peace treaty with the North Koreans? If not, they're actually at war, and the North Koreans have the right to take back those islands north of the line they drew on the peninsula. But they wanted those islands in order to be surround more North Korea and be closer to China. And now that's part of their of what they say they own. You see, in military science, in my opinion, well, frankly, in my studies, achievements and experience, there is a decision, and that is the USA population has to say, we want peace, we want a better economy, we want to correct this criminally insane Hooveristic hypocrisy. We've got to correct that Hooveristic hypocrisy. Israel's got to live just in peace and quit expanding their they even use the word blitzkrieg. They're taking as much as they can and influencing Wall Street and the banking, where it goes above the table and twice as much under the table for what they want to do. And over here they bail out the banks while the people lose their homes and their employment. The Hooveristic hypocrisy, being in bed with the Zionists, has got to be corrected. And if I'm the prime example of why it should be corrected, they forcibly took my science and inventions, my honors and what's mine. Hoover experimented my brother to death. True fact. And others. He was a woman hater. They even showed me one woman. These are the real true facts of the USA. Is a Hooveristic hypocrisy, has to be corrected, and now. Otherwise, it's military science and it's military force against military force. And I know that if certain countries can't lose, then the USA is not going to win. That's my studied achievements and experienced opinion. And I'll say it once more with emphasis. This aUSsaA Hoover hypocrisy must be corrected. And I have proof that it must be corrected. And those, of course, who realize these are the true facts and try or want to do something, being a preacher now, I say, that's what God wants. God will not bless a Hooveristic, in bed with Zionist hypocrisy. You have to do God's will, which is do what's right and not kill off hundreds of thousands of Iraqis because the fellow wants to get elected as a tough soldier when he was a coward of Vietnam. That's the true facts. So I say, of course, may God bless you, and thank you.